Sign up for the free WagerTalk text club to gain access to free plays and exclusive discounts. Just text WagerTalk to 33222 to sign up and get a $10 coupon to use on WagerTalk.com.
Welcome in, guys. It is the Hump Day edition of the NBA Tip-Off Show, powered by WagerTalk.com. We've got 11 games in the association tonight here, stacked card, and of those 11, we got 4 that we are going to dive into here today, and those 4 games will include, of course, who else? The Lakers. Can't talk about it with skis here. So we got the Lakers, we got the Pelicans, we got the Clippers, we've got Portland, any combination thereof, plus a couple of best bets. A John Ryan angle of the day, just for Brian Leonard, who happens to be joining us here today. Of course he is. And shocking enough, I won't ask him any more Cleveland Cavaliers questions, but here they are, guys. 3 of the absolute best here at your fingertips. We're talking Brian Leonard. We're talking the Godfather, Mr. Teddy Covers in the middle, and, of course, Tony Mejia back round 2, still wanting to know if Lou Dort is active. If he is taking OKC. Way to go. Brian, welcome back, my friend. Congratulations. Another 5% winner yesterday in MLB for you. But what do you got going on today at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, today I've got 3 plays. I've got a 3-star in baseball, baseball total. We've got a 4-star in hockey and another 5-star in hockey. 12-1-1, our last 14 5% plays, and 11-2-1 in my career at Wager Talk with hockey, 5-star or 5%ers. So been a really good run on the big plays, and as everybody knows, also what the people want, and they've been getting winners. So I'm very happy in that regard. Baseball's off to a slow start, but we did get that 5%er yesterday. Hopefully we turn it around, and history shows that we will. So pretty excited right now, and also was excited to see Tony on the baseball show today.
Yes.
For the first time. So, yeah, real excited and looking forward to a real nice card of sports tonight.
Yeah, it is. It's great. It is the degenerate special here tonight, Teddy Covers. Pick your poison, brother, across the board. Games in the NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball. Our good friend Carmine Bianco pulling his hair out. Well, actually, he doesn't have any hair in soccer, but you know what I meant there. It's going to be a fun night. And what do you got locked and loaded for us tonight, Teddy?
Yeah, and of course, NFL draft betting
yes.
As well on center stage in the Kentucky Derby this weekend. So for sports bettors, there's a little something for everybody this week. Unfortunately for me and anyone that listened to me yesterday, yesterday was not a great day. I pretty much shat the bed yesterday, which is no fun here on the show. I didn't do any good. I didn't do any good for my clients. So we're looking for a big bounce back on Wednesday. It has been solid overall. The MLB's been solid here in April. The NBA's been solid, both short and long term. Yesterday stunk. I expect today to be better. Single best bets in NBA and MLB up and available right now over at WagerTalk and Sportsmemo.com.
All right, good stuff. Today is another day. Tony Mejia, welcome back, my man. Yes, Lou Dort did start last night, to answer your question, and that turned out to be pretty profitable for OKC backers, my friend. How was your evening, and what do you got in store tonight?
Ended up just playing one game. We won it. It was a 4%, so we're on a little bit of a heater. That's very good. Again, the only thing that I can complain about is Steph Curry missing 3 free throws for the first time in 2 years, much to my chagrin. Beyond that, things are going really well, and we'll continue today. I already gave out the Mets minus 1.5 runs. Jacob deGrom is starting. So if you missed the MLB show, there it is.
All right, see? So we got plenty to get to here, guys. It is a loaded card in the association. So why don't we go ahead and start in our usual spot, and that would be the contrarian game and play of the day. Last night, chalk it up, another W, as we pointed out, the Dallas Mavericks, Golden State Warriors. That worked out well for us. We'll see if the contrarian side will work again here today. And this is an interesting one as we're going to take a look at the Lakers taking on the Washington Wizards. Now, the interesting part about this is Washington is getting most of the tickets and all of the money, and yet it opened up as a 3.5 point Laker thing, but Washington is now, what are we looking at? 1.5 now, as the Lakers are a favorite on the road against this Washington squad. So, Brian, let me start with you here. What was originally a 3-point favorite situation for the Lakers, now down to 1.5, as Washington getting all the tickets and all the love. Do you agree with the market move here?
I do. The Lakers still aren't 100%, obviously. They're slowly getting some guys back. But the Lakers know all they need to do is make the playoffs. And if everybody's healthy, they're in good shape. They're not as concerned about winning these games. Washington's fighting it out, trying to make it to the playoffs. And it's been a while since Washington's had success in the playoffs. So the games mean more to them. It's a situation for me that the matchup really is you mentioned that is an interesting matchup. Washington is very good in letting the opposition, keeping the opposition from shooting threes. But the Lakers really don't shoot a lot of threes. The Lakers are more of a team that shoots the mid-range at the rim. They're sixth in the league in shots at the rim. Obviously, when you got LeBron, you're going to end up in that spot, but he's not obviously playing tonight. But Washington usually keeps people from going to the rim, and that is something that they've been very good at. We'll have to see how the Lakers do here, because they're really the way they're playing right now. They're more of a mid-range type of team right now, and that may work out really well, because Washington ranks 29th in short mid-range defense, 29th in long mid-range defense, and last in the NBA in all mid-range defense. So the Lakers should be able to get those pull-ups, no problem whatsoever here. But I really like the way Washington is set up here. They're number 3 offensively at the rim, shooting 67.8% this season, and the Lakers' defense at the rim isn't very good. So I think Washington is going to have some success in that regard. The Lakers' defense is set up where they're very good defending the three, but Washington doesn't take many threes. So this is a game where the success will be around the basket, and I give that edge to Washington in that regard. So I expect them to win outright, and I agree with the line move, and I'll be on Washington here.
All right, he likes Washington in this spot here, Teddy. It's been a hell of a run for Washington. They find themselves, in the 10th spot, I believe, in the Eastern Conference, and it's been a good run for him there. But do you agree with the market move here? All the love for Washington against his Lakers squad.
No, not at all. And there's no question the Wizards have played much better. I know that Tony Mejia has been talking about Daniel Gafford as being one of these underrated off-the-bench guys for a while. I mean, he's had an enormous impact for that team. But for all the success that Washington's had in recent weeks, let's just take a look at who they played. Sacramento slumping, where they lose 9 in a row. New Orleans slumping, they need overtime to beat them. Detroit bottom feeder, OKC bottom feeder, Golden State slumping, OKC bottom feeder, Cleveland bottom feeder, and they lose to San Antonio last time out. So they're not beating good teams. They're not even beating mediocre teams. They're mostly beating weaklings of late. When you're talking about this point spread range, I'm very interested in who can get a stop down the stretch. Washington, and Brian talked about some of Washington's defensive numbers. They're ugly. They remain ugly. They just gave up a $146 to San Antonio ugly. Okay? Lakers get stops, and the Lakers' defense with Anthony Davis on the floor at the rim is a whole lot better than perhaps their season-long stats might indicate. Davis back in the lineup right now. And the Anthony Davis quote coming off the 2 losses in Dallas. Quote, "We've got to be able to get some wins. This was tough for us after losing the games. Orlando and DC, the next 2 games, are must-wins for us for sure. Took care of business in Orlando. We can take care of business tonight as well. I like the Lakers in this one. So I guess that puts me on the contrarian side."
There you go. All right. It's not a surprise here, Tony Mejia. We get it. They're playing really, really well, maybe a little recency bias. But Anthony Davis, it's been a slow process integrating him back He played really good there against Orlando. He seems to be taking those next steps. Do you agree with the market move here?
Well, he destroyed my Dallas bet. It's the last game I lost in the NBA was him just fumbling it away down the stretch in a game that they led by double digits. Look, I think the Wizards are a very solid underdog in this game. I would bet them, but the better bet is the under. And we see where the number is going from 223 to 230 at some spots. 230 at circa, 229 in a couple of places. I think this is going to wind up being, and Teddy kind of glossed over it, one of those games where Anthony Davis impacts the game with his defense as opposed to his offense. And the Wizards have done a really nice job of late utilizing that Alex Len, Robin Lopez, Daniel Gafford combination to protect the paint inside. Russell Westbrook has not done himself any favors shooting the ball. He's really in a slump on that side of the ball. But you're still relying on the Lakers to find a way to shut down him and Bradley Beal with a limited backcourt, especially if Kentavious Caldwell-Pope remains out. So I like the under a ton, and my lean is the Wizards. Maybe whoever made these initial odds forgot that LeBron James isn't back yet, because the number was skewed, and it's been proven that way. I mean, this should be a pickup.
It says that looks like right about now, as far as Pope, Caruso seem to be questionable / probable. Schroeder, obviously probable. So is Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis here, when you take a look at this injury list here, go down. Wow. Probable, most probable here. But you're talking about Anthony Davis played close to 32 minutes, I believe, on Monday. Schroeder, too, has also been logging heavy minutes, too, at least 36 in 4 of the last 5. So they're hoping to have the guys minus LeBron that they need out there tonight, which is why we are backing the Lakers here in our contrarian game of the day. That is taking place against Washington, guys, in one of the early games. We'll go ahead and move to one of our featured games here tonight. And when it comes to defense, you're not going to see any here. Let's look at the New Orleans Pelicans taking on the Denver Nuggets here. And this game opened up with the Pelicans getting 4. And it's moved to 3.5 in a number of places as well. There are still some 4s out there. It's kind of split. The total 230.5 as that is inched up here, Teddy. New Orleans is a strange team coming off of that beatdown of the Clippers here. Do you like them to keep the momentum going in this one against the Nuggets?
Lonzo Ball thinks there's going to be defense tonight. Quote, we know these last 11 games, we've got to win every one. Our defense has to be good for us to stay in every game. So they're talking defense. Now, whether that plays it on the floor or not is another question entirely. But that wasn't the only positive quote for the Pelicans. I love this quote from Van Gundy. I thought that after they beat the Clippers, and to snap that ugly skid and keep themselves alive in the what are they, 3.5 games out? Mm-hmm. So they're still, still alive in that regard. Van Gundy, quote, it's a high, talking about his team after the Clippers win. It's a high character group that's been really resilient. We've been through a really tough few weeks. That's what you worry about. That's when you worry about teams. Are they just going to give in at some point? And we haven't. And he's right. I mean, the Pelicans are still fighting the good fight. Whether they're good enough to win in Denver is another question entirely. But they have won each of their last 3 times playing in Denver. In fact, this has been a road-dominated series. And it's a Nuggets team. Again, when you talk about the injuries, we talk about injuries in football. We always talk about cluster injuries, and that's the biggest issue. So here's Denver. They trade away Hampton and Harris at the deadline. Okay, so what's that, beginning of March? And then they proceed to lose Jamal Murray and Monte Morris and Will Barton. That's their top 5 guards that are all gone in a matter of a month. And that's a concern for me. I can't lay with Denver tonight. It'd be Pelicans or pass.
Pelicans are past there for Teddy. Listen, no doubt, Jokic, Aaron Gordon, right? Michael Porter Jr. have done an amazing job here. Tony Mejia. It's an interesting matchup with this Pelican squad here with Zion. And, of course, looking at Lonzo Ball here seems to be a pretty good compliment. How do you think they line up here tonight? Are you willing to lay the points with Denver?
I'm not touching this game, so you can put me with the Swiss flag if you want. But
get it ready.
Quick note. Quick note. All right. So PJ Dozier obviously is going to play a huge role for the Nuggets the rest of the season. I think he's ready for it. Stan Van Gundy is a fantastic person. Let me go ahead and go on that. But my God, is that man grading? And I mean, I've seen it firsthand. I covered the Magic for years down here when I was still doing my CBS gig. This is where I covered the entire league out of. And like, I know how much people respect him and how much they tune him out. And the fact that the Pelicans have really struggled to do the basics. I mean, I think everybody saw the Eric Bledsoe tune out a week or so ago, where he failed to foul down the stretch, completely lost track of the score. I think that was well publicized, but it just goes to show you that unless you're really tuned in to what you expect to be a professional in this league, with guys like Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson that are just young, it's really hard to have Stan Van Gundy as your coach. But when you tune in, you tune in. And I think the Pelicans have finally tuned in. And it took Eric Bledsoe's a veteran to like really illustrate, oh my God, I mean, we're clueless in there. You were supposed to foul, you didn't foul. You didn't know the score. You're in this league for a decade. I think that really resonated with players, and the Pelicans have been better off for it. So yeah, I'm going to take the points here.
Well, I got to tell you, we're flagging your ass because I didn't think you were going to get there. But apparently he got there with a sign, because you were this close, my friend. You were this close, but he is taking the Pelicans and the points. So, Brian, that was fantastic. Listen, you even managed to trash Gundy there in a passive-aggressive way, which is fantastic. Brian, talk to us, my man. What do you think of this? You trust Denver is a little thin. What do you think of this? What do you think of this game tonight?
Yeah, I agree with both guys. I think they made some good points. We always joke with Marco D'Angelo that he's a cross between Stan Van Gundy and the porno star. So we all know who that is.
Jeremy.
I'll leave it at that. But the Switzerland sign is the same sign as medical marijuana. What does that tell you?
Well done, Brian. Well done.
I like the New Orleans side here. The guys have talked about it with a lot of good information. The way you beat New Orleans is you shoot 3-pointers, and as Teddy pointed out, they're missing all their guards, which really hurts when you're shooting 3-pointers. What New Orleans does is takes the ball to the rim. They're number one in the NBA at 41.8% of their shots are at the rim. The Denver defense, dead last, allowing 68.5% at the rim, which means I like New Orleans. And I would have said I would agree with the over, the line move on the over, but with all the guards being out for Denver, that is a concern, because you get a lot of variance on 3-pointers. So let's go with the Pelicans here is my play on this one. I like that side.
All right, let's do it, guys. That's a couple of votes there for the Pelicans. Our next feed, 9:10 Eastern time, by the way, tip off for that one, guys. Our next featured game is going to involve the Clippers taking on the Suns, two of the West's very best here. And it looks like this game opened up somewhere right around that 3.5. It has been pushed up. I am seeing 4.5s, and I'm seeing some 4s here now for Phoenix. Total 222. I'm seeing 220s, even 221s. And Mejia, I'll come to you first. Listen, no Kawhi is what it looks like in all likelihood once again. The Suns missing Crowder and obviously a few other guys, but I don't think anybody that Phoenix is missing is going to compare to what, with Kawhi not in this game. So do you agree with this market move? A lot of love towards Phoenix here at home in this spot?
I really don't. We're talking about a Suns team that just comes back off an East Coast road trip. They represented in terms of their quality. I mean, I don't think anybody's writing them off as a fabrication of any sort. They are one of the best teams in the Western Conference. They've got a 1-game lead on the Clippers with 2 games played less than LA and the same amount of wins. So certainly if you win this game, you have a tremendous cushion that you can utilize over the next few weeks. I just don't know that they're going to be able to. I mean, I don't like the spot. I think that's my number one thing on the agenda is like you're coming off to play a huge game coming in off the road. Obviously, attendance is not at capacity. Paul George is going to be involved in this. Your number one weakness is on the wing. Devin Booker's not a great defender. Mikal Bridges is going to be in that spot, but you're also probably missing Jay Crowder. So not a great spot here. If they had Crowder, potentially, especially if you're going to lay points. If not, you got to take Clippers.
All right, got to go with the Clippers here. Bri, what do you think? That 17-point loss was interesting with this Clippers team because they got down big early and then kind of just shut it down, which is something I feel like they're going to do a lot of. They're geared for the playoffs. They're really not geared for anything else. So it's a hard team to bet on. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, I agree. It's very similar to the Lakers. This is a team that's confident, a lot of veterans. They just want to make it to the playoffs healthy. Teddy's really good on picking up quotes out of some of the players. And the Phoenix players talked about how important it was to knock off the Knicks. They wanted to end that winning streak. And they said it was very important to us to get that. And as Tony pointed out, now they got to go back home and play the Clippers. Clippers offense is the best three-point shooting team in the NBA. Phoenix defense actually defends the three pretty well, especially from non-corner threes. So it's a game with all the injuries and all the situations. It's hard for me to make a judgment right now. I think I'm going to wait later on in the day to make sure who is playing and read a little bit more on it. But the spot, as Tony pointed out, the spot's terrible for Phoenix. But the Clippers, these games don't mean nearly as much to them as it does to a team in Phoenix who has not had a lot of success in a long time. And they've got a really good team. This Phoenix Suns team is looking forward to playoffs. So it's really a pass for me at this point.
Teddy's got a good point. Listen, the Suns can still catch Utah here. So they're playing. They're continuing to play for something bigger than just making the playoffs. But this line is interesting. Wouldn't this line be somewhere around this if Kawhi was playing, do you think? Or do you think the line is spot on?
Oh, no. The Suns aren't laying 4 to the Clips if Kawhi's playing.
Good.
Much closer to pick them. I wouldn't be shocked if the Clips. It'd be pick 'em -1,
-1
in that range.
Yep.
So this is a Kawhi's out type of line. And the knee-jerk reaction, my knee-jerk reaction is just like these guys. Phoenix off. And I have my clients and I cashed with the Suns against the Knicks. I knew that game was circled. They said that game was circled. They played like it was circled. And when you're coming back home off a successful road trip and a big win in your last game, it's a classic bet against spot. But one of the things I do is I like to make sure this team fall into this spot. And you go back to Phoenix, go look at their season, dude. They had in December and January, they had a couple of times where they came home off a road trip and they had flat efforts. Basically, since the middle of January, every time they come home, they blow somebody out with game one. Off of successful road trips, unsuccessful road trips, short trips, long trips. They've been really good in that first game back, which, has me saying, all right, maybe I don't want the Clips in this one. The one that makes sense to me for this game is the under between these two teams. Both the Clips and the Suns are bottom quartile teams in pace. Neither team wants to push. Okay. And the Suns have gotten slower in recent weeks. We have a Clippers team coming in off a bad defensive showing. Bad showing in New Orleans. They got slapped around in that game. They didn't bring it on the defensive end. They gave up $120. So we would expect a bit of defensive intensity in this one. And the Suns on the back half of that road trip, even though it was a successful trip, the post-game quotes were, "We're not happy with how we defended. And we finally played defense. We won a game." So I like the under between the Clips and the Suns. That's the one that makes the most sense to me as opposed to the side in this one.
All right, there you go, guys. And just a quick look, throw up the report if we could here, because I do believe, obviously, Kawhi still listed as doubtful, but Luke Kennard is a go. Rajon Rondo looks to be a go. That is a hell of a list there for the L.A. Clippers. But the first half, also, guys, Suns laying 2. One way, 113 and a half in the first half, if you guys are looking that angle as well. We're going to take a look, of course, at one more game, our overtime game. But before we do, I just want to go ahead and remind you, best bets are up and ready to go. WagerTalk.com is where you can get all 3 of these gentlemen, including Brian Leonard, Teddy Covers, and Tony Mejia. Plays tonight, best bets, they are there. There is no reason with the card tonight not to make it a profitable Wednesday. Head on over to WagerTalk.com and visit these guys today. All right, let's take a look at our last game here on the board. And, of course, well, who else? If we're talking overtime, that must mean somewhere around the line we got Portland in here, don't we? Oh, of course, there we go. Portland, Memphis. The total opens up at 235, and guess what? Look what happens here, Brian Leonard. It goes through the roof. And I get it. Listen, how many the Trailblazers almost scored 100 points by themselves last night against Indiana in the first half. Is it an over still or not for you in this spot, or do you think there's some value here possibly in the under?
It's really tough for me when we go to these totals when the line has moved as much as it has here. I have a lot of faith in the lines makers. And if they make the line 235, my first thought is that's what the line should be, because they're very good and they're taking people's money. That's how they run their business. Well, now we're looking at 240, and I can't play an over that's already moved 5 points. It's this far into the season. It's not like in the first couple of weeks of the season when teams have a different style, a different pace. We know what we're getting out of these two teams. So it's a weak opinion on the under only because I can't play the over. So basically just to lean with the under for myself.
It's interesting, Teddy, because we've seen these big moves before, and it almost creates value on the other side from what it opened in. Do we have another one of those situations here?
So it's a fairly unique situation because Memphis and Portland, this is going to be their third game in the last 6 days. Okay. The first game totaled 233, final score 130-128. Both teams shot fairly well. The second game totaled 236 at the close, finishes 120-113, stays under by 3, and both teams shot relatively poorly in the second game. In fact, both teams shot very poorly. Really, Portland in particular had a really rough shooting game against the Grizz. Now, they got their offense back. The Blazers did. Evan Simmons was just, draining threes. And sometimes you get a guy draining threes and it makes all the difference. But after shooting, 37% against Memphis in the rematch, 37% from the 2-point range and 3-point range in that game. But the pace was up and down the floor in both of those Grizzlies Blazers game. And when the pace is up and down the floor, it can stay under if there's no fouls called. It can stay under if both teams are missing. But there's a reason this total got bet up. I'm expecting it to be a blur tonight. And you've missed the best of the number. I'm not going to recommend, go take it after the 5-point line. But this isn't a game I want a whole lot of under.
I don't want to sweat out an under in this one. How about you, Tony? Here, we'll take a look at the first line, the first half line as well in a second. But what do you think? Is it over or not for you in this matchup?
It has to be, and I'm looking through my phone to see if I can get the referees for tonight, because that's a big deal. Like as these gentlemen, kind of intimated, you got a guy like Tony Brothers.
I got him right here.
You got it?
We got Goebel, Washington, and Callio.
John Goebel likes to blow his whistle. All right. Yeah, man. That's what makes these games in terms of that. Because these teams are meeting for the third time in a week. Valanciunas missed the first one of these, but he's going to be a big deal in terms of drawing fouls against Nurkic and Kanter inside. Nurkic and Kanter dominated that first meeting because Valanciunas was out. We've got Jaren Jackson Jr. back in the mix, really doing a really nice job in terms of making himself a presence in the paint. You got 3-point shooters on both sides. This is over or nothing. And even with the line move, sometimes it goes like that. And the way that games are extended down the stretch, mind you, didn't come through for me in the Warriors game that I dismissed against the Kings. But for the most part, you get 7 points in the final 10 seconds if the game is even remotely close, just with a foul of 3 and another foul. So give me the over.
Good stuff there. I mean, you got a Blazers team that takes, 42, almost 43% of their field goals from behind the arc. So if they're hitting the threes, it's going over. If they're not, then you got something. So how confident are you guys? But that's our overtime game, of course, that being Memphis taking on Portland here tonight. Now it is time, of course, to put it all together and come up with our buzzer beater best bets. And we are going to start with Brian leading point here, my friend. So come on, Brian. If you give me Cleveland, Orlando, I'm giving you the flag just on principle. So go ahead. 60 seconds on the clock, my man. Where are you going tonight?
First off, I wanted to thank you for not having me talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers again. Only so much you could say, although now the Kevin Love controversy and all that. But, yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to talk about that. I do want to talk about, once again, the 5% play I've got going today, a 5, a 4, and a 3. 12, 1, and 1 on our 5% run, and 11, 2, and 1 on our hockey 5% in our history. Been handicapping hockey for 4 years, had a lot of success with it, and we're number 2 right behind the Prez right now in season-to-date hockey. So you can get those up there on the site right now. We talked about my best bet earlier, and that was New Orleans against Denver. Once again, I do want to point out New Orleans offense takes 41.8% of their shots at the rim, number 1 in the NBA. Denver's defense dead last, allowing 68.5% shooting. Give me New Orleans to dominate inside in this game, and we'll take the points with the Pelicans.
All right, let's go Pelicans. Zion time. All right, Teddy. Come on, my man. 60 seconds on the clock. Anywhere you want to go, talk to us. What's the best bet tonight?
Sure, let's do a little best bet action for tonight. We're going to talk about Utah and Sacramento. Ooh. And I think, forget that. Let's just talk about the Cavs for the next minute. I know we're a little short on Cavs analysis. Cleveland, yeah. So let me just tell you what I think about Cleveland. No, I'm joking. Yes, I'm joking. Joe's like, anything but the Cavs. Anything but the Cavs.
I was excited.
In my brain, that means you have to talk about the Cavs, right? Click. I'm still a kid brother after all these years. Let's talk Utah and Sacramento. And again, you talk about the players' quotes. This is a Jazz team coming off back-to-back losses to Minnesota. Okay. Quote, we're a team that relies on our guys making open shots, shooting open shots, and creating for each other. We had opportunities the last 2 games, but we've had uncharacteristic type performances from a lot of people. Yeah, I agree. I think Utah steps up here. And when you're talking about Sacramento, no,
go ahead. Finish your thought, because I was you had me going that you were going to talk to Cleveland, and I threw up a little in my mouth. So go ahead, please.
My only point about Sacramento is that, in my mind, there's 3 impact players for the Kings that you want them on the floor. You want Darren Fox on the floor, Harrison Barnes on the floor, and Rashawn Holmes. And those are the 3 guys that matter. And 2 of the 3 guys are going to be out tonight for Sacramento. So Utah minus the spot.
Yeah, and plus Sacramento is not the Timberwolves, so Utah will probably beat them. All right, there we go. Talk to us, Tony. 60 seconds on the clock, my man. Where are you going tonight?
The wonderful Teddy Covers and the esteemed Brian Leonard both passed on the opportunity to talk about Chuma Okeke against Isaac Okoro.
Oh, for
Koro
Christ's sake.
Kiki. Come on. Are you serious, people? You're going to leave that alone for me? Look, that's a matchup that screams under, so I'll give you that for free. We like the Heat tonight. In a big game, they've got the Celtics coming up in a couple of games. They've got games against the Hornets that they've got to win. This is Miami time. And I think you've seen over the last couple of days that Jimmy Butler is really taking this thing seriously. He has been one of the best producers over the past couple of games. And I think in his own mind, okay, whether the Heat are a bubble fabrication or not, they still made the NBA Finals last season. You're going to see Miami step it up. It begins tonight. Ride Miami.
All right, yeah, Duncan Robinson a go, Iguodala also a go. So Miami needs to start winning a couple of games here. All right, if this angle is about the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm just hitting stop on the whole damn show. But let's go to John Ryan and our good friend from SportsMemo.com, who has yet another angle for us here today. And this angle says we want to bet the under with a line between 210 and 225. We want a revenge here where a road team suffered a blowout loss of 20 or more points in the last meeting between the two. Fatigue also playing a fact where the revenging road team is on a rough schedule playing 6 or more games over the past 10 days. Now, over the last 10 seasons, 5-19 straight up to be expected, 6-17-1 against the number, 26%, but 18-6 to the under. So we are looking at the Heat laying the points plus the under. So we got a little same game parlay there going on from our good friend John Ryan of SportsMemo.com. And as you can see, Miami defeated San Antonio 107-87, a 1.5 favorite, and that was just last week, in fact. So good stuff from our good friend John Ryan there. Let's take a look at our friends from the Gold Sheet, see what they got going on here tonight. And they've got, oh no, the New York Knicks. And it's not a first half play, but New York Knicks laying 4 here tonight against the Chicago Bulls. And of course, guys, this entire write-up in full can be found. Don't strain your eyes. You can head it over to Twitter. Go to WagerTalk's page on Twitter. Make sure you're following them. All the write-ups from the Gold Sheet plays of the days on the show can be found there. But the Knicks laying 4 against the Chicago Bulls. And to recap it, put it all in a bow for you one more time, Brian Leonard taking the Cavs. Teddy taking the Cavs. No, I'm kidding. See what you did? Now you got me not the Cavs. Brian Leonard, you're going Pelicans +4. Teddy likes the Jazz tonight, laid the 9. Tony Mejia says it is Heat time, laid the 5. The Gold Sheet play says take the Knicks, our contrarian game of the day, centering around the Lakers, laying 1.5 on the road against the Washington Wizards, who are getting all the tickets and all the money at this point. Speaking of money, if you like it, you might as well head over to WagerTalk.com right now. Visit Brian Leonard. Visit Teddy Covers' page as well as Tony Mejia page. Guys, their best bets, they are up, they are locked, they are loaded. No reason not to make it a profitable Wednesday now. Make sure you head over there and check those guys out. And on behalf of Brian Leonard, Teddy Covers, Tony Mejia, hit that bell in the upper right-hand corner. Guys, you know the routine. Make sure you come back and see us again tomorrow for another edition of the NBA Tip-Off Show. In the meantime, best of luck with your plays. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
To lock in your favorite WagerTalk